I've seen so many people jump on the cheapest Al-Anon AV receiver just because the price looks sweet, only to end up with a system that can't keep up with a 4K HDR TV, let alone an 8K gaming console. The regret shows up when you're trying to watch that new blockbuster in Dolby Atmos and the sound drops to tinny mono, or when you're swapping HDMI cables and the picture flickers. So the question is, does stepping up to the Sony STRAZ3000ES feel like a smarter buy, or are you just paying for a brand name? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I'm going to walk through what the receiver actually brings to a real living room setup, where it shines, and where it might leave you wishing you'd taken a different route. First off, the STRAZ3000ES is positioned as a premium 9.2 channel unit. That means you can run a full front left, center, right, 2 side speakers, 2 rear surrounds, and even 2 height or upframe modules for a true Dolby Atmos experience. In my own testing, that extra 2 channels made a noticeable difference in immersive scenes. Think of a helicopter flying overhead in a war movie. The audio doesn't just swirl around you, it actually feels like it's coming from above, and the built-in digital cinema auto calibration 9 does a decent job of balancing the levels after a quick MIC sweep. You don't have to sit in the middle of the room with a screwdriver trying to get each speaker level just right. Power is another big factor. Sony lists 120W per channel into an 8 ohm load, with a 1 kHz, 2-channel rating and a total harmonic distortion of 0.9%. In plain language, that's enough headroom to drive most bookshelf or floor-standing speakers without distortion, even at higher volumes. When I cranked up a bass-heavy action sequence, the receiver held steady and the room filled without the usual wobbly feel you sometimes get from lower-rated models. If you're already investing in quality speakers, you want an amp that can actually make use of them, and this unit delivers. Now, the headline feature for many buyers today is 8K support. The STRAZ3000ES comes with HDMI 2.1 on 6 inputs and 2 outputs, each capable of 8K at 60Hz and 4K at 120Hz. For a gamer who just upgraded to a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, that means you can keep the full 120 frames per second frame rate with HDR intact, no downscaling tricks required. In a side-by-side comparison with a 4 Conley receiver, the picture stayed razor-sharp, and there was zero lag switching between the console and the TV. The unit also handles the full suite of HDR formats: Dolby Vision, HDR10, HLG, so you won't be stuck watching a washed-out image if your source uses a different standard. Streaming and smart integration are where Sony tries to future-proof the box. Built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Chromecast, and Spotify Connect let you pull music from your phone, tablet, or any compatible app without a separate streamer. The works with Sonos claim isn't a full-blown Sonos ecosystem takeover, but it does allow you to add a Sonos speaker into the same network and control everything via the Sonos app. For households that already have a Sonos sub or a pair of Sonos One speakers, that can simplify the whole audio landscape. I found the transition from a traditional Bluetooth speaker to the receiver seamless. Once you pair, the system remembers the device and you can switch inputs with a single tap on the remote. All these features sound great on paper, but the day-to-day experience does expose a few practical trade-offs. First, the remote and on-screen menu are packed with options. The learning curve is steeper than a budget receiver that just turns on and plays. You'll spend some time navigating the setup wizard, assigning HDMI inputs, tweaking Dolby Atmos object placement, and configuring network settings. If you're comfortable digging through a few submenus, you'll end up with a finely tuned system. If you'd rather point and click, you might find the process frustrating. Another point to consider is size and heat. The chassis is a full-height, 2U unit that sits under a TV stand or in a dedicated rack. It runs warm during extended 8K gaming sessions, something to keep in mind if you have a tight cabinet with limited ventilation. The heat isn't a failure risk, but you'll want to give it a little breathing room, especially if you plan on using it for long movie marathons. Pricing is where the decision really comes down. This isn't a budget upgrade you can buy on a discount day, it's priced firmly in the premium segment. If you're a casual cord cutter who mostly streams Netflix in 4K and uses a soundbar for occasional movies, you'll likely get better value from a more modest 5.2-channel receiver or a high-quality soundbar with Dolby Atmos support. On the other hand, if you've already invested in a multi-speaker setup,
care about future-proofing for 8K content, and want a single hub that handles gaming, movies, and whole home audio, the STRAZ3000ES starts to make sense. Let's talk about who should actually buy this. First, home theater enthusiasts.